Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada.
Man 31 arrested after allegedly falling driver of Highway 401 and smashing vehicle with imitation firearm. Pedestrian in life-threatening condition after being struck by vehicle in Brampton, police say. TDSP warns of cuts to students' programs services if Ontario government does not reimburse pandemic-related costs. Michael Ford asked to rescind disturbing offensive and racist comment about Toronto youth. Mystery surrounds Markham women who disappeared without trace. I have got a message to the new mayor. Ford preaches fiscal responsibility as Toronto stares down billions in budget pressures. First presidential visit since 2016 brings heavy security presence to Ottawa.
These were the headlines and let's jump right into the details.
A pedestrian was taken to a trauma center with life-threatening injuries after being struck by a vehicle in Brampton on Wednesday afternoon. It happens near Main Street and Williams Parkway at around 2:45 p.m. Police say that the driver remained on scene and is cooperating with investigators. Main Street is closed between Williams Parkway and Brickyard Way as a result of police investigation. More to come. Premier Doug Ford appears to be suggesting that the province will not be bailing out the city of Toronto as it stares down billions in financial pressures over the next decade. An Ernst & Young report that was considered by Toronto's Executive Committee on Tuesday warns that the city will face $46.5 billion in pressures over the next 10 years that could threaten its fiscal stability and sustainability of its service levels. The report noted that there is not a single solution that can fully address Toronto's fiscal challenges. However, Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey did tell reporters that the findings underscore the need for a new fiscal framework for Toronto. Asked about the matter during an unrelated press conference on Wednesday, Ford said that it is fair for Toronto to request more money for the province, but he seemed to suggest that an influx of funding wasn't likely to materialize. It also pointed out that the $1.1 billion that the city invests in federal and provincial responsibilities annually, such as housing, social services, and health services, might no longer be viable given its fiscal situation. Speaking with reporters, Ford vowed to stay out the mayoral race. But he did say the Ontarians are fed up with the tax increases and want elected representatives who will drive efficiencies. Toronto's recent budget included a 5.5% increase to the residential property tax rate, which was the biggest hike since amalgamation. It should be noted that while former Mayor Rob Ford did freeze property taxes during his first year in the office, he used $346 million in surplus money to balance that year's budget. Using surpluses to fill budgetary holes going forward won't be an option for Toronto now, as the Ernst & Young report warns that 97.4% of the money has already been set aside for legislated, contractually bound or council-directed commitments. The city is also facing ongoing shortfalls related to the ongoing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, including hundreds of millions in lost revenue from the TDC. The Toronto District School Board is asking the Ontario government to repay pandemic-related costs incurred, warning that failure to do so could lead to cuts in student programs and services amid a $61 million deficit for the next school year. On Wednesday, TDSB Chair Rachel Chenos-Lynn and TDSB Director Colleen Russell Rollins made the request in a letter to Education Minister Stephen Lecce. We are writing to you today to request that the provincial government repay the pandemic costs incurred by the TDSB so that we can continue to deliver the programs and services that students require for academic success, safety, and well-being they wrote. They said the board used about $70.1 million to ensure that Toronto Public Schools met health guidelines and provided a safe environment for staff and students during the COVID-19 pandemic. And while the province provided additional investments to school boards during the pandemic, that amount was not covered by the ministry. Chenos-Lynn and Russell Rollins wrote in the letter that TDSB used and depleted its reserve to implement COVID-19 safety measures by provincial and Toronto public health officials. In the letter, they provided reducing class sizes as an example in which the board's reserves were used. Chenos-Lynn and Russell Rollins pointed out that the province has already committed to funding a third of the City of Toronto's pandemic budget shortfall in 2022. The board had previously said the forecasted deficit of $61 million is due to Ministry industry funding gaps in a number of areas. In the letter, officials noted that the TDSB was already facing a structural deficit before the pandemic due to the misalignment between TDSB commitments and the provincial funding formula. It was not addressed during the pandemic as all resources were poured into making sure students and staff had a safe learning environment during the pandemic, they said. Meanwhile, Lich's office shared a transcript of his response when asked about the funding being sought by the TDSB during question period on Tuesday. He added that TDSB funding is up relative to 2017 when Liberals were in power, yet enrollment is down 16,000. Even still, funding is up. Chair Chernoslin and Director Russell Rollins also expressed in the letter their concern about the province not extending pandemic funding for the next school year. The ministry gave the school board more than $31.5 million through the COVID-19 Learning Recovery Fund in each of the previous 2 school years that allowed the hiring of 485 additional staff, including social workers, child and youth workers, and caretaking and vice principals. With the funding set to expire in August, officials urged the province to continue to program, warning that without it, there could be ramifications to student well-being. In a report earlier this month, TDSB staff warned that without additional funding, the board might have to eliminate those positions next year, worrying many education advocates. Ontario Education Workers United, an advocacy group that supports increased education funding in the province, said the proposed staffing reduction comes at a time when students can't afford to have fewer supports in school. Meanwhile, Chair Noslin and Russell Rollins are also asking the province to fund employee benefits and sick leave costs for the next school year, which is projected to be underfunded by $48.6 million. School boards are required by the law to pass a balanced budget before June 30th, and the TDSB is hoping to further discuss its concerns with the province in the coming weeks. A Markham, Ontario woman who has been missing for nearly 3 weeks disappeared without a trace, police say. Isabella Dan, 53, was last seen at her home in the area Waterwalk Drive and Workley Gate on March 3rd at around 8:30 p.m. According to police, she was last seen leaving her home wearing a beige coat with a fur collar and black pants and was carrying a red gym bag, and then suddenly she vanished and disappeared without trace, York Police Constable Maniva Armstrong told Awaz News. Armstrong said Dan's sudden disappearance is considered very unusual, and her case has been turned over to York Police Homicide and Missing Persons Unit. A 2022 grey Land Rover, which investigators believe to be Dan's vehicle, was left outside of a residence. Armstrong noted Dan was an avid member at a nearby LA Fitness gym near Woodbine Avenue on Highway 7, which is roughly 3 kilometers away from there she was last seen. We have somebody that works in the city of Markham that has a consistent schedule, contact with people, and known to be a resident in the city of Markham, and then suddenly vanished, Armstrong said. At this time, police say there's no information to confirm that this is an abduction, but they are concerned about her whereabouts. Police described Dan as 5'7" with a medium build, brown eyes, and black hair. Police have arrested a Stratford man in connection with a weekend road rage incident that began on Highway 401 and continued into Oshawa. Police say that the victim was traveling in the eastbound lanes of the highway near Thixton Road on Saturday when they noticed that the driver behind them was becoming increasingly agitated. The authorities say that the victim believes the suspect threw an object at their vehicle before falling them off the highway. Both parties then continued eastbound to the area of Bloor Street West and Park Road South, where a confrontation ensued, police say. The suspect approached the victim with an imitation firearm and began smashing the driver's side window and mirror of the vehicle. The victim was able to get away and the suspect fled the area. A news release issued by Durham Regional Police on Wednesday states. Police say that the suspect in the incident was subsequently arrested in Stratford. The authorities say that an imitation firearm was seized during the execution of a search warrant. Simon McLeod Walden, 31, has been charged with assault with a weapon, uttering threats, using a firearm in commission of an offense, and mischief under $5,000. US President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden have not yet arrived in Ottawa, but the city's streets and skies were showing signs Wednesday of the security presence residents can expect for the country's first presidential visit in 7 years. The pair are set to arrive Thursday for the first official visit to Canada since Biden took office as president in 2021. They will stay overnight until Friday. In downtown Ottawa Wednesday, about 20 police vehicles circled the area as U.S. flags were strung up near Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's office in the main street in front of the Parliament Hill. Workers were busy installing fences to prepare for the visit. Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe told reporters Wednesday morning that the event provides an opportunity to remind people that Ottawa is the capital of Canada and that it's an amazing city and beautiful city. The last time the city of Ottawa hosted a president was in 2016, when former President Barack Obama attended the North American Leaders Summit near the end of his second term. Retired Ottawa Police Chief Charles Boudreau, who served as a superintendent during Obama's first official trip in 2009, said extensive planning goes into each presidential visit. The fact that Biden is staying overnight will mean even more resources are taken up. He said in an interview that the service had 2 months' notice for the 2009 visit. During that visit, which saw thousands of people pack the lawn in front of Parliament Hill, Obama surprised many by taking a detour with his motorcade to the nearby Byward Market to try a local sugar-coated deep-fried pastry known affectionately as a beaver tail. He also left with 3 sugar cookies shaped like maple leaves for his family after stopping at a local bakery. Obama reminisced about the visit when he addressed the House of Commons in 2016, telling members of Parliament that a beaver tail is better than it sounds. A Global Affairs Canada spokesperson said that its protocol office coordinates visits by different heads of state and government. It works with Prime Minister's office, embassies, RCMP, and many other internal and external partners. Ottawa police have warned residents of an increased police presence through the week as they turn large parking lots into staging areas for the officers. The armed forces and national defense also confirmed it would be providing air security during Biden's visit. It added that civilian pilots should watch for flight restrictions in the area for NAV Canada. The city also cautioned residents to brace for road closures on major downtown streets and around its airport, all routes where Biden's motorcade will travel.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.